Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the monthly meeting of the Inland Coalition on Aging. My name is Dr. Ben Howdigi. I'm the founding board chair and your host for today. I want to welcome you to our monthly meeting of the Inland Coalition on Aging. This coalition is made up of professionals like yourself, folks who work in the field of aging, disability, and caregiving. That is who we are, and that is who we serve through our work, through our coalition work, through our development of an Inland Empire Master Plan, an inaugural landmark Inland Empire Master Plan for Aging that we're working on. And hopefully this next March, we plan on launching that. We're excited to have you here because we have another great presentation. I want to start by sharing the agenda with you. We're going to do welcome. Well, just did a welcome. We're going to share some key points from our last meeting. We have a wonderful presenter today with us, that Dr. Serano from San Bernardino County APS will do a presentation on APS and elder abuse. It is Elder Abuse Awareness Month, and so we definitely wanted to make sure to touch on that subject. So it's a great educational presentation for us. After that, we're going to talk about the Inland Empire Master Plan for Aging updates. Our very own ICA treasurer, Carmen Estrada, will do that. And then we'll talk about the next meeting. You're welcome to enter your name and title into the chat. And just a quick recap of our last meeting, in case you missed it, we had a phenomenal presentation by Tony Ortega with Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health. Some of the key points that he touched on are life changes, the changes that we go through as we age. He also talked about some barriers to access of services. Some of the participants shared some of their feedback on some of these things that they had observed also. He shared some common behavioral health disorders and symptoms for older adults, how to offer help, why behavioral health is so important, and then 5 approaches to aging well. It was very well received. I thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a few things, and actually are thinking about how we can bring that topic back since it was so well received, and definitely a topic of our master plan. And so thank you for those that attended, and we'll continue those conversations on behavioral health as we move forward with our master plan for aging. Next is excited to present Dr. Chanel Serrano's with us today. She's a district manager for San Bernardino County Adult Protective Services. We invited her to present an educational presentation on elder abuse. As you know, it's a topic that we all need to be aware and familiar with, and we can never, we can always learn something if this is a review for you. It's still valuable, especially now during Elder Abuse Month. June is World Elder Abuse Month, so very timely topic. After that, we'll continue with our agenda, but I just want to give, if we could give Dr. Chanel Serrano a warm virtual round of applause, appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Serrano, for being with us.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope all of you are well. I am going to share my screen, so please let me know whether you're able to see it. Again, thank you so much. Before moving forward, just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing us to come and to share with you not only about the program, but specifically about different types of abuse and signs and symptoms moving forward for yourself. If there's anyone in your family, a neighbor, and especially for those who are helping professionals here as part of the meeting, to definitely take note and being able to share this information with all of those who you come across. I am one of 3 district managers for the Adult Protective Services Division here with San Bernardino County. I primarily cover what we consider the East Valley area, so San Bernardino through the mountain area. We also have District Manager Joe Ellen Atkinson, who provides coverage for the West Valley, and so that is from Rialto, the city of Rialto through Montclair. And we also have Brisa Ramirez, And she covers the high desert all the way through Barstow and also including Yucca all the way down to Needles. So we cover quite a bit, a variety of different areas. But if you have any particular questions or need to reach out to any one of us, feel free to either contact us through the call center, which I will provide a phone number at the end, or you're able to contact myself directly or any of the district managers. So a little bit about the department, if you're not familiar. So Department of Aging and Adult Services, it houses not only the Adult Protective Services Division, but several other programs as well. That includes the in-home supportive services, senior information and assistance, MSSP, as well as a variety of other programs, and also the Office on Public Guardian. So we work quite a bit in partnership with each other, as well as with other departments throughout the county and other community-based organizations as well. And so partnership is a vital part of what we do. And so here on this slide, we go right into what APS is, a lot of acronyms, so I will try to keep it short. But again, Adult Protective Services. And so really, this program is geared towards providing services, case management, primarily crisis intervention, leakage, or resources to individuals, older adults who are aged 60 and older, as well as dependent adults between the ages of 18 to 59. And by that term, meaning that anyone who may have medical condition or a condition in which they are needing assistance or depending on another individual to assist them with tending to their basic self-care needs. And move into the time frame. This is just to give you a little bit of background, so I'll back up a little bit before moving forward. So the process when you are concerned that either for self or for someone else, if there is suspicious activity you're concerned about them being placed in a harmful situation, you would contact either yourself or someone at your agency or whomever it may be would contact the DOS PG call center. And again, I will provide that number on the last slide. And so once that information is received via telephone, especially for our mandated reporters, and so mandated reporters, meaning that any person who has assumed full or intermittent responsibility for care or custody of an older adult or dependent adult. And so oftentimes that is supervisors, that is many helping professionals, includes as well those who work for the county. And so many different categories that fall under that. But just a brief definition of what a mandated reporter is. But back to this process. So once the referral is called in, you have a concern for a neighbor, for instance. Perhaps you have not seen them, maybe in a week or so. And you're knowing that typically on a day-to-day basis, that you may touch base with them, have a conversation. You know that that individual might need assistance with food or with bathing, and perhaps maybe you haven't seen the caregiver. And so it's been a few days and you're concerned. Oftentimes, you will receive phone calls as well as with law enforcement, but oftentimes APS will receive phone calls. You know, I just want to check in on this individual. We connect pretty much on a daily basis. It's been several days, it's been a couple of weeks. I'm not informed or not aware of them going on vacation. And so, just really wanting to be concerned because I know this individual is not able to tend to their basic self care needs. Can you send someone out? And so once that call is made to the call center, and again, if a mandated reporter, we request or require that a written form, which is the SOC 341 for those who are mandated reporters, then follow to the call center within 2 business days. And so once that information is received at our call center, depending on the urgency of the situation, the case will then be, or the individual will be referred to the region, meaning the area where the individual resides, and then the case will be assigned to a practitioner. We refer to them as social service practitioners or SSPs, but really a social worker. And it really depends on the allegation, if it is physical abuse, if it is financial abuse, sexual abuse, neglect. And so, depending on what the situation may be, that will determine whether we are to respond uh, on an emergency basis, meaning an emergency response, meaning typically within 24 hours. However, for us, our emergency response means that we are going to respond within the next hour or as soon as possible, depending on the distance. And so an individual, a practitioner will go out and meet with the person and conduct a face-to-face or conduct a home visit with the individual. Oftentimes when we see emergency response as well, we may get phone calls where the reporting party is local law enforcement. It may be the hospital. It may be someone in the surrounding area and the neighborhood, etc. So depending on what the allegation is, that will determine whether it is an emergency response or also an urgent response. And that may vary county to county, but for San Bernardino County, we also have an urgent response, meaning that we have between 2 to 5 days to physically connect with that individual and conduct a home visit. And then lastly, as it states here, the 10-day mandate. And so that is for general allegations. Again, it is case by case, and depending on the situation, will determine how quickly the individual or the social worker may go out. And also, for San Bernardino County, and wanting to make sure that I share this information as well, that all phone calls that come in, we do not screen them as far as, this is not APS worthy, or this individual does not meet what we consider APS criteria. Again, an older adult or a dependent adult. So we're not going to take this case. Um, that does not occur for San Bernardino County. So we see all of the individuals, all of the referrals that come in to the hotline. And so we do not screen at that point of intake. We make sure that we connect with that individual, despite whatever the allegation may be, because we want to ensure that everyone is connected, that they have the resources that they need, and that making sure that there's no further protective issue. So again, we respond to every call that comes in. Another thing as it pertains to APS is when it comes to the reporting party. And so we always request for any slight suspicion that you may have. It does not need to be proven. It does not need to be substantiated, where you need to have evidence to report if you feel that you are in danger or that you are in a harmful situation, or someone who you may know is in a harmful situation. Please, by all means, please reach out to us and we will follow up. As a reporting party, you may be anonymous. That's completely up to you. If you decide to share your information with us, we also welcome that as well. And also, too, when it comes to being a reporting party, we are able to, uh, at times, and depending on if we need additional information, contact the reporting party. However, providing follow-up information, sometimes we will get a phone call from the reporting party and they're wanting follow-up information. And so, due to the confidentiality of the person who has the open APS case, we may not share that information. And so, we would have to speak with the person and make sure that we have their consent before speaking to anyone else, and that includes the reporting party. So I share that because, again, we do receive phone calls, and rightfully so, and it's intended with a good heart of the reporting party wanting to know the outcome and how they can help with the case or with the situation. And so, again, if we do not receive consent from the individual, we are not able to share legally that information. Okay. And moving forward with the Welfare and Institutions Code, or WIC 15750. And so that really goes into what the Adult Protective Services Program is truly all about. Uh, Further here, we have the multidisciplinary team. And so for those, hopefully you had an opportunity to join us with our 36th annual MDT conference that was in May. And so we have it every May. So, if you like more information for the next one, we're starting to plan. And even if you would like to be a part of the planning committee for the next annual MDT conference, please feel free to reach out to us. We definitely welcome it. It is a collaborative effort for sure. As it pertains to our multidisciplinary team meetings, or MDTs, again, a lot of acronyms, so please forgive me. But for each region, we offer an MDT, or a multidisciplinary team meeting. And so this is really an opportunity for training to occur for the supervisors and for the practitioners, but also we welcome individuals in the community to come and be a part of these MDT meetings. And so, really, it is an opportunity to collaborate. Oftentimes, at the end of every MDT meeting, and again, there are forms that need to be signed due to confidentiality. But once the documents and those forms are signed, we are then able to what we consider case consult. And so, really, that is an opportunity. Let's say that there is a practitioner or even someone from another agency, a local agency, and they said, I'm not sure whether I should refer this particular individual to APS. I have exhausted all other possibilities and I'm not really sure what direction to move forward. And so these MDT meetings are really a great forum to come together and to have these discussions. And so I welcome you. If you are interested, please let us know. Feel free to reach out to me as well. We again have MDT meetings for each region, and we have them once a month, and that includes the high desert and as well as in the mountains, especially in Big Bear. We typically have an MDT meeting there as well that one of our practitioners facilitates. We also have other MDT meetings where we connect with the Office of Public Guardian, and we meet once a month there. And so that is an opportunity if we are working with an individual where there's some concerns of cognitive impairment. There's some concerns of more than forgetfulness, but now we're looking into maybe perhaps we need to involve a payee, someone to come in and assist with taking care of the finances, making sure that the bills are paid. Um, Again, maybe perhaps placing themselves in a dangerous or harmful situation. And so, due to a cognitive impairment, it is during the Public Guardian MDT that we come together, not only with APS and Public Guardian, but various programs and various agencies throughout the county come together to discuss some of these more interesting cases. And lastly, we also work quite a bit with the district attorney. And so, especially here in San Bernardino, but for all regions, the one here in San Bernardino City really occurs once a month. And so, he is really MDT meetings to uh, the abuse of older individuals, older adults. And really, this is a time where APS, district attorney, and especially our county council and other individuals can come together to discuss some of those more intricate details. Okay, so just a little bit of what we do here. Okay. So this is really the meat of the presentation that I wanted to really jump in on. And please, I do not have access to the chat at this particular moment, but if there are any questions, definitely feel free to ask, or any feedback. But again, as it was mentioned, with June being Elder Abuse Awareness Month, now although awareness of abuse should be a conversation that's occurring every day. Unfortunately, we are seeing numbers rise. And so that is why it is vital that we as a community, we all play a part, we all make an impact. And so it's vital that we come together to not only be able to recognize the signs, but being able to share that information with others as well and help others to identify symptoms, signs when something just may not be right. And again, even if it is just a suspicion, please feel free to reach out to us and call in that referral. Okay, it's always best to err on the side of caution. So the first one that we have here is abandonment. Now, abandonment is when an individual is left alone and they're unable to tend to their basic self care needs. I'll give you an example. Let's say that someone resides with a caregiver, and the caregiver is needing some time away, needing to engage in self care. And so they're wanting to take a few days away. Maybe they, want to go see family for a few days. And they have reached out to all of their family. They have reached out to other agencies, et cetera, to see if there is someone who can come in and provide the caregiving services so that the individual can remain in their home safely while the primary caregiver is on vacation. Now, in this particular example with abandonment, let's say that the caregiver is unable to find anyone within their support to come in and to provide secondary coverage or secondary caregiving responsibilities. And the primary caregiver says, you know, I've already booked my hotel and I'm going to leave for a few days. I am going to leave you here. And they leave the individual in the home, knowing that they're needing assistance with their basic self care needs. And so they may say, okay, I'm going to maybe lock the door, or if anyone rings the doorbell, if anyone comes to the door, please do not answer it. Do not answer the phone. Do not let anyone know that you are here by yourself. I will be back in a couple of days. That is an example of abandonment. Now, again, case by case, et cetera, but in that particular example, that would be a prime case of abandonment, where again, an individual is left alone and they're unable to tend to their basic self care needs. On the other side, we also have isolation. Now, isolation is one in which the person, may it be a caregiver, may it be, if not necessarily per se a caregiver, but someone who is with the individual quite a bit, and they're wanting to isolate or prevent the individual from having any social contacts, having any connections with their support group or their support network. So that might mean no phone calls, okay? No longer allowing the person to use their phone, no longer allowing the individual to receive phone calls from family, people who usually check in on them. If they have access to the internet, no longer allowing them to check their emails, removing the computer, removing all of these devices so that they can still have contact and connection with others. It may be someone who you typically see who may be going to a community center on a regular basis for socialization, to connect with individuals. And so after some time, now noticing that the person is being kept in the home. And again, there's case by case, but any suspicion whatsoever as it pertains to that, again, please give us a call. Again, we always like to make sure that we err on the side of caution. Then we also have abduction. And so this is when we are forcibly, or an individual forcibly restrains someone against their will. And so, and very seldom have we seen, well, I'm not going to say very seldom, we have seen this actually an increase, even more, unfortunately, where individuals are forcibly restrained and not allowed to return back to their home. They go on vacation, or they're anticipating going on vacation with someone, with a family member. for instance, and they've discussed only being away for a few days. They've gone on their vacation. It's now been a few days. It's now been a week. It's now been a month. And we're moving down, more and more time has gone by. And the individual is saying, I'm not taking you back to your home. I'm not returning you to where you live with your family. And it's against the individual's will. Then that is, again, case by case, but that is an example of abduction. So again, forcibly restraining someone and keeping them from returning to their home. Okay. Financial abuse. The majority of, and actually, it's the second. The highest amount of referrals that we see come in are really self neglect, which I'll discuss in just a couple bullet points here. But right underneath self neglect is financial abuse. And we continue to see a rise on this more and more. And oftentimes, in most cases, financial abuse is occurring by someone whom the individual knows. And so, one of the many things that we do as part of APS is to empower, is to educate, is to remind individuals of what their personal rights are, and to ensure that their voice is heard. And that includes regarding their finances in every area, wanting to ensure that their voice is heard, and and that we move forward on ultimately what the individual wants to do. A lot of what we're seeing are scams. For instance, someone may get a phone call saying, hello, grandmother, hello, grandfather. I am out in Italy on vacation, and you would not believe what happened. Someone stole my money. I'm left here with no money at all. And so I need you to wire me money in the amount of. Here is the information. Please hurry. And so, especially if, let's say, the individual has not had regular contact with that person, with that so called supposed family member. And so that individual is now panicked. I haven't talked to them in several months. They may not be aware that whether they're on vacation or not, but wanting to make sure they come to the rescue. And so now they're wiring money. They're providing all of their financial information to this individual who is not their family. That's one of the many different scams that we see, as well as the romance scam and things of that nature. And so, one thing that we always remind individuals is to ensure that we're not sharing information on the phone. There are times where someone may receive a phone call and they'll say, I am from this particular financial institution. They find out that that is the same bank of the person, and so they say, I'm from this particular bank, and there's been some suspicious activity going on in your account. And so if you can provide your social security number, if you can provide all of your information so I can verify that this is you and that there are no concerns. And so again, in those cases, oftentimes we see where there is fiduciary or financial abuse taking place. And so, what we encourage people to do when there are questionable phone calls coming in, number one, you don't have to answer, but if you do, or if the individual does, reminding them that do not provide that information, and better yet, you know what, thank you for giving me a call that is concerning. Let me give you a call back. And so if that person is stating that they are from a particular financial institution, their bank, hanging up the phone and then contacting the bank, or even going down and having an appointment and say, someone reached out stating that they were from this particular bank, saying that there was a concern with my bank account. I'm following up on that. And so, just little ways to make sure that we are not providing any of our personal information and with anyone on the phone. And another thing that we're seeing as well is when individuals come to the home, especially for the county or any agency, we always empower and encourage individuals to ensure that the person is wearing a badge, And even it is okay to request, can I see your badge? Can I see documentation? May I see your business card to make sure that you are who you say you are? So we're seeing that people are becoming more and more clever and finding different ways to take advantage of people. And so one of the best strategies is to empower, is to educate, is to become very familiar with what the personal rights are and making sure that they're not violated. We spoke to isolation. Now, physical and or sexual abuse. So physical abuse is using either a part of the body, such as a hand or a foot, or using an object to bring harm to someone, to physically assault someone. We may see bruises, we may see scratches, we may see black eye, we may see fractures. Um, and wanting to make sure, especially in these particular cases, we're always encouraging individuals to please get local law enforcement involved. We partner with them quite a bit. And so wanting to make sure that that person is getting immediate help. So we're starting to see a rise in physical abuse as well. And sexual abuse, this is when there is a sexual activity that is occurring without the individual's consent. And the reason why I'm going to stop here for just a second is because I remember when I was a practitioner myself, and I remember having conversations with individuals, with one person, actually a couple in particular, who said uh, it was a situation between a spouse, the spousal relationship, and there was concern that one of the individuals was not consenting to sexual activity. And so the other individual then forced themselves onto the other person. And so when we became involved, the first thing that not only this individual, but I've heard it in many situations, unfortunately, where the individual said, I come from an era where you do not deny your spouse. And so I just thought that that was not considered sexual abuse, even though I said no, even though there were physical marks of where I did not want to engage any further, and the act was forced upon me. Again, I come from an era where you do not deny. And so that was an opportunity to educate and to empower the individual. It truly is a paradigm shift that when someone says no, it is no. And so again, that is a conversation that we always make sure that we have, but really a paradigm shift. Again, empowerment and making sure that there is an educational component, okay, and discussing the individual's rights. Then we also have neglect. This can be neglect from others, as simple as even over medication or under medication, as well as, again, neglect not tending to the self or not tending to the basic needs of the individual. If it is self neglect, we are then looking at it being self-afflicted, meaning that the individual may not be tending to their own basic self-care needs. That may mean not eating. That may mean not going to medical appointments, even though it's been highly recommended. Okay, so a couple examples. Another example of self-neglect, if you will, is what we consider hoarding behavior. Okay. And then the last one here is on mental suffering or psychological abuse. And so this is where you get into gaslighting. This is where you get into emotional abuse, intimidation, instilling fear tactics, using fear tactics, again, intimidation, saying demeaning things, belittling the individual day by day, constantly saying these things to someone, and let's say you overhear it. That is what is considered mental suffering or psychological abuse. Okay. And so, again, feel free to really hone in on these particular types of abuse and ensuring that you are mindful of the signs and symptoms. Okay. And so, A little bit about the individuals whom we serve. So again, we serve individuals who are 60 years and older and dependent adults. That includes those individuals who are or who self-report as capable and consenting, meaning that they are alert, and they are coherent in thought process, thought pattern. They're able to advocate for themselves, and they say, you know what, I do need assistance in this area. I will consent to services being provided by APS. We then also serve individuals or attempt to serve individuals who are capable, meaning again, they are able to self advocate, but they're not consenting. And so, one thing that we always, want to make sure that we share is that being that we are working with adults, they have the right, right? We all have the right to self determination. And so, if an individual says that they do not want services with APS, we have to respect that. And there are times where there are further concerns. But if the individual refuses services, now we may partner with, if there are additional concerns on our end, especially criminal activity that we're noticing around those who may assist that individual, we still ensure that we are partnering with the necessary agencies. Again, we work very closely with district attorney and the law enforcement, as well as various other agencies. But again, overall speaking, once an individual states that they are no longer wanting services or not open to initiating services with us, we legally cannot proceed. Next is also those who are incapable by clinical judgment, but not judged so by a court of law. And so, one of the things that people may not be aware of is that we work with a psychologist. We have a contract to where, as we are engaging with people who have open APS cases, if there are concerns of cognitive impairment, we then reach out to this psychologist who we have our contract with. And so, with the consent of the individual, that person then proceeds with what is considered a capacity evaluation. Okay. If there are further concerns, and where we are concerned that the individual may not be able to continue to live independently or live alone, or may require some additional assistance in the home, and there may be a component of cognitive impairment, we then possibly will make a referral to Office of the Public Guardian. Okay. And ultimately, once Office of the Public Guardian gets involved, then at that particular time, and again, it depends on the situation case by case, and they are deemed incapable by legal action, then that is when conservatorship is introduced. Okay, conservatorship of the person and or of the estate. And that means that someone else, in this particular case, the public guardian, would then be legally responsible to make certain decisions on the best interest of the client. Okay. And this is just an overview of some of the various services that we provide, as well as what we do not provide. Okay, again, we are a 24-hour emergency response. Our call center is open, again, 24/7. Our primary focus is to provide crisis intervention, intensive case management, and what that means is that depending on the situation, on the circumstances, sometimes the case stays open for a certain amount of time. But APS does not provide ongoing case management. Okay. And again, there's some information advocacy, linkage to services and referrals, assistance with tangible resources. For instance, when the snowstorm occurred in February of 2023, that was a prime example of where we used quite a few different types of tangible resources. And here you also see services that are not provided by APS. And that is, we do not place individuals in protective custody. Okay, that is outside of our scope. We also do not initiate 5150s. And so if there is concern, we are reaching out to law enforcement and then having that discussion. But we do not initiate 5150s. We do not conduct criminal investigations. Okay. And placement. We do not place anyone. We provide services, we provide resources, and different, perhaps room and boards. If we are working with certain facilities, we will provide that information to the individual and they can freely choose if they decide to move forward with that particular placement or moving there. Okay. And then lastly, this is one of our programs, the Home Safe program. Home Safe is what is considered at the state level. However, here in this county, we refer to as at home. And so it's really meant to assist individuals who are experiencing homelessness and those who are in imminent or at imminent risk of homelessness. Okay. And so, especially with this particular program, we're able to assist with sometimes short term housing as we are preparing and doing income, be helping the individual become income ready, documentation ready, to assist with transition to permanent housing. And so that can come in a variety of different services as we use the at home funding to do so. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, this is the San Bernardino County or APS call center. And so this is a phone number again, 24/7. Uh, if there are any concerns, any suspicion, please feel free to reach out. Again, we always want to make sure that we err on the side of caution. Okay. And that concludes my presentation. Okay. And are there any questions for me? And thank you for the opportunity, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Serano. Very timely presentation information, especially on World Elder Abuse Month, and reminding ourselves of the importance of being watchful, being informed, being actively involved in suspected abuse was very helpful. Thank you so much for that information. I'm checking to see if there's any questions in the chat. Great presentation. Thank you. Great job, Dr. Chanel. I had a question, actually. I appreciate the fact that you, well, not a question, maybe more of a comment, but you mentioned isolation. And I think many times we overlook that, thinking that, it's their health, not feeling well, they're not ambulatory, they're not able to get out much, or maybe it's their age, and we just assume that it's okay, or it's normal, or it's not something to be concerned about. But given that isolation could be a sign of abuse and neglect, given that isolation is addressed now and identified as an epidemic, loneliness and isolation, by our U.S. Surgeon General, I think our eyes need to be more aware about isolation, loneliness, and just ask the questions. Could that person be more involved in the community, or in their family activities, or in programs that are out there available? I'm thinking of community-based adult services or adult day healthcare centers where people can with health conditions and or limited mobility, the ones that you think maybe are not able to participate in community. There's programs for folks that do have limitations and need that ongoing support in the community. So I'm just thinking isolation is something we need to be aware of and vigilant of, and so thank you for touching on that. And I'm wondering, any thoughts on how we can counter that, right? I think, or 2 months ago, we had a presentation on ageism and how we just assume and we put people in a box, and ageism would say, maybe, they're old and they don't get out much, and it's a negative stereotype, and maybe we should not be thinking that way, and thinking, why aren't they out in the community? Why aren't they involved? Any thoughts on that?
It really is, again, a paradigm shift. And one thing that I I always like to mention is when you begin to notice a change in behavior, a change in their day to day, whether it is emotional, whether it is even as you're talking now about being mindful of, have there been changes in their appetite? Has there been changes in sleep? Has there been changes with connecting with other individuals where we know that is what this person, this individual may love to do, and now we're seeing a change in behavior. Typically that is an indication that, okay, we need to delve into this a little bit more. There could be, other factors, but just again to err on the side of caution, if there is a substantial change that we're noticing in the behavior, that's usually indication of something a little bit deeper.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another comment, great presentation. Thank you so much. Well, again, thank you to Dr. Chanel Serrano from San Mateo County APS for a wonderful presentation. Thank you for the attendees for your questions and comments. Appreciate that. We will move on to the next agenda item. Thank you again, Dr. Serrano. Next on the agenda is, I believe we have an update on the IE Inland Empire Master Plan for Aging. Carmen had to step away, but I believe Jaritza will be presenting. Jaritza, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I'll go
Thank
ahead
you,
and
Jaritza.
present on her behalf.
Okay.
So just a quick updates. We were pretty busy for May and June. So on May 9th, we did meet with legislators for Advocacy Day. Some of the people that we met with was Senator Ochoa Bo, Senator Sayarto, Assemblymember Corey A. Jackson, Assemblymember Craig Wallace, and Assemblymember Sabrina Cervantes. After that, we had a couple presentations on the 22nd of May. We did do a presentation for the 36th annual Adult Protective Services Multidisciplinary Team Conference. On the 23rd, we also had a presentation for the San Bernardino County Older Adults Awareness Subcommittee. We did 3 community presentations at the ICRC Health and Wellness Conference. One of them was at the IHP Resource Center in Victorville on the 23rd. We also had one in Yucaipa at the Women's Center on the 29th, and we had a virtual conference on May 30th. We also did some tabling. So on June 13th, we did the Riverside County Elder Independent Adult Abuse Symposium. On the 22nd, we did the 36th Annual Adult Protective Services Disciplinary Team Conference. And then we also held a disabilities focus group on May 30th, which was about an hour and a half long. The group consisted of 5 people total, 4 males, 1 female. There was a range of disabilities, and some even had multiple disabilities. We did complete our findings, and it will be presented at our next ICA meeting, which is going to be July 23rd. Another update is that we had the CDA LEAD-UP grant for the IEMPA has been extended until June 30th. The Riverside County Board of Supervisors has provided a letter of support for our AARP age-friendly network application. We are still waiting on the San Bernardino County, so hopefully we'll get an update on that soon. And last but not least, on June 4th, Dr. Ben Howdigi was appointed to the California Commission on Aging to represent the IE. So if everybody can give a little round of applause to Dr. Howdigi. Just for awareness, so what we've been doing for the ICRC, when ICA does not have a table at resources, fairs or events, ICRC has been actually putting out little pamphlets and brochures for the ICA at every outreach event. So we're encouraging everybody, when you guys have resource tables, you guys can also get our one-pagers, our brochures. We have new content, which I'll show you in a little bit, that you guys are more than welcome to put out at your tables. We will be starting a community awareness live stream. Our first one we just confirmed for July 30th, but we'll have more news on that soon. They are going to be posted on YouTube and they will be linked on our website. We have already sent out our save the dates for our ICA second annual conference. It's going to be on September 27th, and we'll hopefully be having our registration up and running and sending everybody all the information and details. And then we also have our ICA LinkedIn page. So we are encouraging everybody to follow us. And then this is the new material that we have. So this is the new content. We have business cards, we have postcards, and we have our one pager of why people should join the coalition. They'll have their QR code, so it's easy for you to access our website and sign up and get updated on all the information. Some of the content that we already had was the informational video, digital brochure, our trifold brochure, and our social media toolkit, which you guys are more than welcome to access and post on your profiles.
Thank you for that update. Lots of work being done behind the scenes, and one way that all of you can be involved in everything that we are doing is by joining one of these work groups here. We have a behavioral health work group that is run by our two co-chairs, Dr. Yoshioka with San Bernardino County Department of Behavioral Health, and Tony Ortego with Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health. We also have a transportation work group. We have a caregiving and Alzheimer's and other dementias work group. We have a housing work group also. And so invite all of you to be a part of the development of the Inland Empire Master Plan for Aging by joining one of those work groups and sharing your thoughts. And we are, as you can see, still gathering stakeholder input. We still would love to hear from you, and we value your input. So please consider joining one of those work groups. Next slide. And very excited to show you this here. All of you should have received, hopefully, the invitation or the save the date to our next annual conference, which will be held on Friday, September 27th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please note the time change. Last year, it was at 10, I believe. We're starting a little earlier because we had so much content and so much engagement that we want to make sure we allow enough time. And very exciting to announce, just this morning, early morning, I got a confirmation that Andy Imparato, the director of the California Department of Californians for Disability Rights, excuse me, I'm getting the names mixed up. Disability Rights California, Andy Imparato, has confirmed he will be speaking at our event. He's just one of many speakers, so I'm very excited. Andy is nationally known for his leadership in the disability community, advocacy community. Used to be with the AAPD, American Association of People with Disabilities, and other national organizations. We are also inviting other speakers, and we will update you as we get those confirmations, but we're very excited to announce that the conference is coming up. It'll be here in Rancho Cucamonga at IEHP, so make sure you join the coalition so you can attend for free. We are considering charging this year to help raise funds for the work that we're doing, but we've made the decision that members, anybody who joins the coalition, will be able to attend for free. So please make sure you join the coalition. The logo or the QR code is there. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 23rd. And in light of July 26th being the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, we thought we'd bring in a speaker on ableism to address that. You know, our MPA, our Master Plan for Aging, is about older adults, adults with disabilities, and caregivers. We've shed light on ageism. We want to shed some light on ableism. And so you don't want to miss that discussion on disability focus group that day. So I look forward to seeing you there. I think we are done. Jaritza or anybody else remember, oh yes, please, these surveys are very important. These surveys help us improve our meetings. So please, you will be getting, I believe, an email or a link right now as soon as we end. Please make sure you give us your feedback. Appreciate your time and the work that you're doing to serve older adults, adults with disabilities, and caregivers. Great. Again, good to see everybody. So many familiar faces. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next month.